Maybe you've been wondering how to encourage positive attitudes when working in a team. So what's the context for you? Do you have a downline? Are you a coach? Are you a leader, a manager? This video is for you. Stick with me through the end of this video. I've got a free gift for you, and we're going to cover 4 important aspects of positive attitudes on a team. One of the things I enjoy the most about my role as a positivity psychologist is when I get to help team leaders influence their teams to have a more positive attitude. And most leaders understand that a positive attitude has everything to do with productivity and avoiding burnout and satisfaction in being a part of the team in the first place. I'm going to start today with one of the hardest points, and if this offends you, then you can run for the hills. I was watching this iconic movie, Remember the Titans, and 2 of the members of that football team that were depicted in the movie were having a little spat, a little argument. And the team captain said to this other player, "Hey, that's a terrible attitude." To which the other player replied, "Attitude reflects leadership, Captain." Ooh, that burned. And it stings a little to realize that our own attitude as leaders is often what is reflected in our team. I'm inviting you to just take a look and see. You know, I remember this time when I was driving. I was in southern Utah. I was going to see a client that lives in St. George. And if you know the geography of this state, it's right on the border. I knew I had missed my exit when I saw that big colorful sign. Arizona welcomes you. Arizona? I not only missed my exit, I missed the whole state. I hope I'm not the only one who does this. Have you ever done this where you're lost in your thoughts and you miss your exit? There was a moment when I had a painful realization as I looked down, and guess whose hands I saw on my steering wheel? Ugh. See, that bites a little to realize I'm here because I drove here. This is one of the most difficult leadership concepts to wrap our heads around. But the bad news is also the good news, because if I drove here, okay, if my hands are on the wheel, what can I do now? The leaders who are in what I call a victim mindset are too busy blaming someone or something else or our circumstances for where we are. But if our fingers are pointing, they're not on the wheel. And if they're on the wheel, they're not pointing. Swallow hard, take a deep breath, whatever it takes for you to realize, okay, my hands are on this wheel. Does attitude truly reflect leadership? I think the compelling evidence says that it does. If you're willing to take a hard look and just see where yours is, that will empower you to do what you can do next. So let's get to the good news part of this, because your energy is what will influence the entire team. When it comes to influence, what I've learned through about 3 decades in my clinical career is that our focus matters. So I invite you to do something called metacognition. Metacognition is a fancy psychobabble word. We make up words in psychology. It makes us feel smart. And this is one of them. Metacognition, if we put cognition on this level, cognition means thinking. Metacognition is a higher level. It's thinking about thinking. Notice that you can do this. Be careful with it, you can hurt yourself. But notice that you can think about your own thinking. I invite you to go to that space and notice that your focus can be in one of 4 different areas. I have developed a model for this. We're not going to get into detail in the model today, but I'll give you this model. I'll send you this PDF. Just go to the URL on the screen right now, drpauljenkins.com, spelled with a DR, drpauljenkins.com/influence. And I'll send you a copy of this Influence Quadrant. Here's the quick version. Our focus is going to be divided between how I feel and how you feel. I've written this in first person so that you can really take it to heart as a leader. Is my focus on how I feel or how you feel, the person that I'm leading? On the other dimension, we've got, is this about me or is this about you? Where is my focus? So my focus might be on how I feel about me. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I cute enough? Okay, that's the red quadrant. Over here in the orange, my focus is on how you feel about me. Do you like me? Do you think I'm smart? Do you think I know what I'm doing here? That's the orange. It might be in the purple. Now my focus is on how I feel about you. Do I like you? Do I think you're doing a good enough job? And by the way, that's where leaders usually hang out. Or is my focus on how you feel about you? Each of these quadrants has a different impact on the team. Where your focus is matters. And so I invite you to just ask, where is my focus? Is my focus on how I feel about me as a leader? Is my focus on how my team feels about me? Is my focus on how I feel about my team? Or is my focus on how they feel about themselves? That's the powerful influence quadrant. When we're all done here, I've done a whole video on the influence quadrant. Now, before we move forward, would you just take a moment to subscribe to this channel and click that notification bell so that you're notified every time we have a new powerful leadership video for you here. One of the things that I've learned over my career about humans, and this isn't even going to surprise you because you happen to be a human, what if we were to pay more attention to what works for us? Here's what I've noticed. People want to hear what they're doing well. This can be a little awkward for leaders because I think as leaders, sometimes we get focused on what we could be doing better. Newsflash, nobody is ever doing better than they're doing. Wait, what did I just say? Think about that. Nobody is ever doing better than what they're doing. They're doing what they're doing. So when we focus on what they could be doing better, they start to think that our judgment is that they're never good enough. And I hear this all the time from team members. See, they're wondering, okay, how am I doing? And then the leader is saying, well, you could be doing better. And then it starts to feel like, oh, I could never be good enough. This happens across the spectrum of leadership, from parenting to leading a sales team to running an organization or a company. That's the dilemma that we're up against. What if we as leaders could just chill a little on the improvement? Now, I'll get behind your upgrade all day long. When leaders bring me in to train their teams, I first work with the leader on giving feedback to the team that they're already doing a good job. Why? Because energetically that changes the team. What if you could shift your focus as a leader to what they're doing well and provide them regular, powerful feedback about the things that you appreciate, the things that they are doing that are already working, what it is that they contribute in powerful ways to this team? That energizes their improvements. This is a paradox, and we have a lot of paradoxes in psychology, but I think it's best illustrated by an experience I had with my son, who is now a brilliant engineer in Chicago. When he was a young adult, he had just come back from serving a volunteer mission for our church for a couple of years, and he wanted to buy a car. Okay, this wasn't a fancy car. This was an old beater that cost a couple of grand, but he didn't have the money to do that. He also didn't have a job at the time. He just returned from volunteer church service, and he didn't have a credit rating. He was a ghost in the system. Well, I took him down to a credit union where I've banked for the last 20 years or more, and we sat down with a loan officer. Now, the loan officer is pulling up his information, and she gets this dark look on her face as she looks at my son and says, "I'm really sorry. You don't qualify for this loan." Well, that wasn't a surprise to us. So I throw my hat in the ring, and I tell the loan officer, hey, what if I just co-sign on that note. Let's try that. And she's like, oh yeah, that's great. So she starts typing in my information. She gets an even darker look on her face as she looks directly at me and says, sir, that makes it worse. Okay, now that didn't surprise me. I knew, because I had been through a bankruptcy a couple of years earlier. I knew I didn't qualify for that loan. I didn't qualify for 5 cents. But I had another option for her, okay, as I took $3,000 out of the pocket of my jacket, put it on the table, slide it over next to her, and I said, what if I give you the money to lend my son, and then you let me co-sign on the note? That way we both build our credit. And she's like, oh yeah, we can give you good rates on that. Yeah, thank you for the good rates on my money. What did I learn from that? This is the paradox. You can get the loan as soon as you prove you don't need the money. Listen to those words, leader. You can get the improvement, the enhanced productivity, the better attitude from your team as soon as you, as the leader, are convinced that you don't need it. This is hard because as a leader, your brain is naturally focused on what could be better. As your team, they are naturally focused on how am I doing? We have to give them some of what they need in order for them to provide for us what we want. And the quickest way to get an upgrade in a relationship, at the bank, from your team, is to put yourself mentally in a position where you know that you don't need it. Things are good the way they are. That changes all of the energy. We take that energy to a whole new process. It's called creation. And I do full day trainings with teams on creation. I know the process that it takes to go make the upgrade. What I'm sharing with you today is a powerful leadership tool that allows you as a leader to actually manage the energy of your team. And energy management is more important than task management or time management. Energy management. With the energy, you can do anything. Can you do something with this today? I promised you earlier that I'd give you a copy and a brief description of the Influence Quadrant. This is your leadership go-to. All right, so go to the URL on the screen, drpauljenkins.com/influence, and then queue up that next video. I'll get into some depth on the Influence Quadrant. Get it in front of you so that you can follow along. And let's upgrade your team together.